भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। श्रीमद्भागवतम Canto 1 Chapter 11. Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwaraka. Text 33. Yadyapyasau parshvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyangri-yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadach chalapi yachrirna jahati karhichit. Yadyapyasau parshvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyangri-yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadach chalapi yachrirna jahati karhichit. Yadyapyasau parshvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyangri-yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadach chalapi yachrirna jahati karhichit.
हरे कृष्ण। यद्यप्यासो पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस् तथापि तस्याङ्घ्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाच् चलापि यच्छृण जहाति कर्हिचित्।
हरे कृष्ण। यद्यप्यसो पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस् तथापि तस्याद्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाच् चलापि यच्छेन्न जहाति कहिचित्। हरे कृष्ण।
यद्यप्यसौ प्रसो गतो रहो गतास् तथापि तस्याङ्घ्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाच् चलापि यच्छिर्न जहति कर्हिचित्। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna. I will try.
Yes.
Yatya asau parshvagato gatas tathapi tasyangri-yugam navam navam pade pade ka virmet tatpadach chalapi yachrirna jahati karhichit.
Yadyapi aso parshvagato raho gatas tatapi tatasyangri yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tat padak kalapiyach chirina yajari karichit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
यज्ञापसौ पार्श्वगतो रहो गतस् तथापि तस्याङ्घ्रियुगं नवं नवं पदे पदे का विरमेत तत्पदाच् चलापि यच्छ्रीर्न जहाति कर्हिचित्।
Anyone else? Okay. We'll do the word-to-word translation. Yadi, although. Api, certainly. Asau, he, Lord Sri Krishna. Parshvagataha, just by the side. Raha gataha, exclusively alone. Tathapi, still. Tasya, his. Angriyugam, the feet of the Lord. Navam navam, newer and newer. Pade pade, step. Pade, in every step. Ka, who. Virameta, can be detached from. Tat padat, from his feet. Chalapi, moving. Yat, whom. Shri, the goddess of fortune. Na, never. Jahati, quits. Karhichit, at any time. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? I'll read the translation again. Although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides, as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Purport. Conditioned living beings are always after the favor of the goddess of fortune, although by nature she is moving from one place to another. In the material world, no one is permanently fortunate, however clever one may be. There have been so many big empires in different parts of the world. There have been so many powerful kings all over the world, and there have been so many fortunate men. But all of them have been liquidated gradually. This is the law of material nature. But spiritually, it is different. According to Brahma Samhita, the Lord is served very respectfully by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. They are always in a lonely place also with the Lord. But still, the association of the Lord is so inspiringly newer and newer that they cannot quit the Lord for a moment, even though they are by nature very restless and are moving about. The spiritual relation with the Lord is so enlivening and resourceful that no one can leave the company of the Lord once having taken shelter of him. The living beings are by constitution feminine by nature. The male or enjoyer is the Lord, and all manifestations of his different potencies are feminine by nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, the living beings are designated as para prakriti, or the superior potency. The material elements are apara prakriti, or inferior potency. Such potencies are always employed for the satisfaction of the employer or the enjoyer. The supreme enjoyer is the Lord himself, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5:29. The potencies, therefore, when engaged directly in the service of the Lord, revive the natural color, and thus there is no disparity in the relation of the potent and potency. Generally, people engaged in service are always seeking some post under the government or the supreme enjoyer of the state. Since the Lord is the supreme enjoyer of everything in or outside the universe, it is happiness to be employed by Him. Once engaged in the supreme governmental service of the Lord, no living being wishes to be relieved from the engagement. The highest perfection of human life is to seek some employment under the Lord's supreme service. That will make one extremely happy. One need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yadyapyasau parshvagato raho gatas tathapi tasyangri-yugam navam navam pade pade ka virameta tatpadach chalapi yachrirna jahati karhichit. So we are reading in this section of this chapter entitled Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwaraka. That Krishna has entered into the city of Dwaraka. First, Lord Krishna met with his father and his mothers, and after being embraced by them and reciprocating with their love, now Krishna entered into his palaces of his queens. So we understand that he has expanded himself into 16,108 forms, and simultaneously he is entering into the palace of each of his queens. So in today's verse and in the past couple of verses, we are seeing the love of the queens of Lord Krishna in Dwaraka. What is the nature of their love? So we saw that as soon as Krishna entered, the queens were extremely joyful. They were in ecstasy, but at the same time they were very shy, and they embraced Krishna with their eyes, taking him into their hearts. They embraced him in their hearts, and then by sending their sons, when Krishna embraced their sons, they also experienced that affection of Lord Krishna. So today's verse is talking about, so who are these queens? The queens are all goddesses of fortune. They're all goddesses of fortune. So we see in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains who are the queens of Dwaraka and who are the goddesses of fortune in the Vaikuntha planets, who are the gopis in Golok Vrindavan Dham. They're all expansions of Srimati Radharani. So the goddess of fortune in Vaikuntha Loka is a partial expansion of Srimati Radharani. The queens in Dwaraka are reflections of Srimati Radharani. And the gopis in Golok Vrindavan Dham are the personal expansions of Srimati Radharani. And Krishna performs his pastimes in Dwaraka, Mathura, and Vrindavan. He only performs pastimes in these three places. Then what about Krishna's pastimes when he comes to this world? It is understood that his pastimes performed in this world, the Dham, is also expanding from the spiritual world. He actually doesn't come to the material world, or he doesn't touch the material world. He is only dealing with his internal energy. So what is the relationship of these queens with Krishna? That's what we have to understand. That which is in this material world, so we see in Bhagavad Gita, this material world is compared to the banyan tree. And also we see the analogy how the tree is upside down. That means that which is topmost appears to be the lowest in the material realm. So the topmost relationship in the spiritual realm is the conjugal attraction, the conjugal love between Krishna and his devotee. That's the topmost relationship in the spiritual world. Whereas in the material world, that is a perverted reflection. Because it's a perverted reflection, although the emotion is very strong, that emotion of love, when it is perverted in this world, it is seen as sex. So there is a very strong emotion, but that which is highest in this world, it is actually the lowest. It's the lowest. Still, because that emotion is so strong, people are hankering for that. So there are two strong emotions in this world. And actually, it's like the two sides of the same coin. One is love and the other is hatred. These are very strong emotions. So when there is hatred, there is violence. So therefore, in the material world, a lot of emphasis is given to sex and violence. That's what you see in the movies. So these two verses, today's verse and tomorrow's verse, text 34. So today's verse is going to talk about the love aspect, and tomorrow's verse will talk about the violence aspect, the hatred or violence aspect. So that which we see as very bad in this world is actually completely spiritual and very blissful in the spiritual world. Of course, you don't see violence in the spiritual world. For that, Krishna performs those pastimes when he comes to this world. You don't see demons and violence in the spiritual world. That only we see here. Nevertheless, Krishna performs those pastimes. That's why there are so many demons. Krishna comes as Lord Nishingadev and kills Hiranyakashipu. He comes as Hiranyaksha and he comes as Varahadev and kills Hiranyaksha. As Lord Ramchandra, he kills Ravana and Kumbhakarna, like that. So yes, the Lord also delights in this rasa of chivalry. But that is tomorrow's verse. Today's verse, we are talking about love. So what needs to be understood is the nature of spiritual love. It is different from material attraction. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, again, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, and Srila Prabhupada, quoting from Madhvacharya, says that Mahalakshmi has two components. She has the spiritual component and the material component. Material component means not that she is material, but her role in relation to the living entities in this world. So Mahalakshmi, the internal energy of the Lord, she plays two roles. The goddess of fortune plays two roles. One role is with respect to the material, to the conditioned souls in this material world. Another role is in participating in the Lord's pastimes as his pleasure potency. So Lakshmi Devi, that people are running after in this material world, she is chanchala. She cannot stay in one place. She is constantly moving. So, chalapi, yachrir na jahati karhijit. Chalapi means she's moving, constantly moving. Shri means Shri. Shri is Lakshmi Devi. So her nature in this world is she's constantly moving. So how do we understand that? Anything that we see or anything that we consider as fortune in this world, the source of that fortune is Lakshmi Devi. Whether you take wealth, or you take health, or you take good family situation, or success in your project, in your business, all these opulences are coming from the goddess of fortune. And everyone in this material world is seeking the goddess of fortune. We want, because we think when we become famous, when we become wealthy, when we become beautiful, right? Then we are successful, and we think that's the sword that will make me happy. So everyone is seeking the goddess of fortune. But what is the practical experience? Srila Prabhupada is saying in the purport that so many big empires in different parts of the world have come into existence. So many powerful kings were there all over the world. And so many fortunate men have been there. But still, in course of time, they have all been liquidated gradually. That means one cannot remain fortunate all the time. I may be fortunate today, and in due course of time, my fortune will be taken away. So Lakshmi Devi is the goddess of fortune. Yes. So from this observation in this world, we can understand that fortune, you cannot hold on to fortune. You cannot. It will be there today and it will go away tomorrow. I may be in a good position today, but it's not necessary that I will always be. In fact, you can take it for granted that it won't be there. Yes. You'll be a very beautiful and famous person today, and soon old age will creep in and all your beauty is gone and you're not so famous anymore. I heard that in America, there was one actress, and this may be the story of many people, but this is just one example. There was a film actress who was so attached to being talked about in news. She didn't care whether people said good things about her or bad things, but she wanted people to talk about them. She has to be in the news. People must talk about her. And then, as it always happens, gradually people stopped talking about her. And she became so depressed, she committed suicide. So, fortune is not always going to stay with us. People will like me today, and tomorrow, all of a sudden, I'll become right? Nobody will recognize me. I'll be, so many. I mean, if you look in the material world, in the film industry, people who have been really successful, in their, uh, they have their, days when they are on top of the list, but then gradually when they start aging, people don't even recognize them. Because now there's new generation. They don't even know who you are. So simply people remember all the good times of the past, and they become even more miserable because now it's not there anymore. So anyone who's holding on to the goddess of fortune alone, he won't become happy. He cannot become happy because she won't stay in one place. She's always moving. She won't stay in one person's hands. I'm also thinking, at least in olden days, we used to have cash, right? So we used to hold. So we would see when they said Lakshmi Devi changes hands, you would actually practically see the bills moving from one hand to another. Nowadays, you don't even see her anymore. You work and you don't know where is your salary. It goes from there to there and there to there. You have these credit cards. So you don't even see Lakshmi anymore. Hardly. So anyone who's holding on to Lakshmi Devi only cannot be happy. Another example, Ravana. Ravana was holding on to, he was very much attracted to Sita Devi. So attracted, he was completely obsessed with her. But he could not recognize Lord Ramchandra as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what was the result? He was so opulent. He had so many queens and he had a whole city built with gold. He had this Pushpaka airplane. He pleased Lord Brahma. He got so many boons. Nobody could kill him. But in spite of all this, he had a miserable death. So if somebody is enamored by the goddess of fortune alone, he's not going to be happy in this world. You're not going to be happy in this world. That is the first part. But the same goddess of fortune, who cannot stay in one place in this material world, in the spiritual world, she cannot leave for a moment the lotus feet of the Lord. She cannot leave the lotus feet of the Lord even for a moment. So last Saturday, I think, or maybe, I think it's last Saturday, we read about how Lakshmi Devi doesn't leave the chest of Lord Vishnu. She made her permanent residence on the chest of Lord Vishnu. Why? Because he's so attractive, she cannot give up. So although Lakshmi Devi is chanchala in this material world, when it comes to the spiritual world, she cannot leave the Lord's lotus feet even for a moment. So how is this happening? This is against her nature. Her nature is to keep moving here and there, but she's not able to give up the lotus feet of the Lord. What is the reason? What is there in those lotus feet that is keeping her like practically tied, that she's not able to give up those lotus feet? So here it is said, Tathapi tasyangri yugam navam navam. Krishna's lotus feet seem to be newer and newer. So do we all have this experience? When you get anything new, there is anticipation. Prabhupada also said, when you get new clothes, that's my enjoyment. Yes, when you get new clothes, you wear new clothes, that's an enjoyment. And what to speak of nowadays? You get a new car, right? So you paid for it and it's going to come. And then there's so much anticipation. Now, if you get a new house or you get a new phone, you get a new toy, anything which is new, there is eagerness, there is anticipation that you're going to own it and you're going to enjoy it. Yes, it's with anything in this world, whether it is a thing or whether it is a relationship. When something is new, there is so much anticipation, right? New means anticipation. You look forward to it. And the same thing, after some time, it becomes old. Then you look for a newer model. Some people are fond of changing cars all the time. They buy a new car, the latest model, and after some time, now a new model has come into the market, then they sell this one and get the newer one. Isn't it? Nowadays, everyone wants Tesla cars, so they are giving up their old, gasoline run cars to get the electric cars or other things like that. So new means there is some attraction, there is some eagerness, there's some anticipation. But in this world, anything new will become old. It will not remain new all the time. There is creation, there is maintenance, and there is annihilation. That holds good for anything in this world. When it is new, there is some attraction, but it won't remain new all the time. But about Krishna, it is said, he is ever fresh. He is ever fresh. So the goddesses of fortune, the queens, they are with Krishna. They get exclusive audience of Krishna. And also very intimately related. He's sitting right next to them. He's always right next to them. In another place we saw Krishna would never leave these, the Hastinapur ladies. They were glorifying the queens of Krishna, saying that how fortunate are the queens. Krishna never leaves their side. He acts like a hen-pecked husband. He's always with them, accepting their gifts. He never leaves them alone. How fortunate are the queens of Dwaraka. Like this, the ladies in Hastinapur were glorifying. That means they have the exclusive, the audience of Krishna, and Krishna is with them all the time. Still, it never becomes stale. It never becomes old. This is the wonderful thing about Krishna. So, about Krishna's ever freshness, there is it is described in Nectar of Devotion. So Krishna has qualities, 64 qualities. One of his quality is ever fresh. He is ever fresh. So not only is Krishna's beauty, his form ever fresh, anything related to him is ever fresh. For example, Krishna's holy name. We chant the same mantra every day, day after day after day, for the whole life. But there's no question of satiation, right? That after you have chanted so many rounds, oh, I have chanted so much, now I don't ever want to hear that name again. Does it ever happen like that? No, no. There's no satiation. Bhagavad Gita. So many people, all different types of people are reading Bhagavad Gita. This was spoken 5,000 years ago. Do you have any example of any literature which was written 5,000 years ago or even hundreds of years ago that is being read repeatedly every day all over the world? And people are getting newer and newer light from it each time they read. It only becomes sweeter and sweeter. The more you read, the sweeter it gets. Just the opposite of our experience in this world. So this is true with Krishna's name, his fame, his qualities, anything in relationship with him. That is the reason why, in spite of having so many difficulties, devotees are not able to give up Krishna consciousness. They are not able to give up. Because earlier we read in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto, there Narad Muni is telling Vyasdev, text 19, 1.5.19. Narad Muni tells Vyasdev that even if a devotee falls down after coming to Krishna consciousness because of some material, attraction or some past, impressions, even if he gives up Krishna consciousness, he cannot give up forever. Anyone who has once tasted the sweetness of the nectar Also last week we were reading about the nectar that is exuding from the lotus feet of the Lord. Anyone who has once tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord, he cannot do anything but remember that sweetness, that experience again and again. And this remembrance will purify him of his contamination. And once again, it will pull him back to Krishna consciousness. So there is ever freshness in Krishna's devotional service, in the beauty of Krishna, in the glories of Krishna. You read Srimad Bhagavatam, devotees just keep reading Srimad Bhagavatam over and over and over again. And it is not boring. It is not at all boring. The more you get absorbed yourself into it, the more nectar you derive. So he is ever fresh. This is one of the qualities of Krishna. That's why, although the nature of the goddesses of fortune is to that they are flickering, they cannot stay in one place, or she cannot stay in one place. But when it comes to the Supreme Lord, she goes against her nature. She's always in one place. She doesn't want to leave those lotus feet, because she's getting ever fresh rasa from those lotus feet. So in regard to Krishna's ever freshness, Srila Rupa Goswami writes in Lalita Madhava, where I'll just read it to you. Regarding Krishna's attractive features being ever fresh, there is a statement by Radharani in Lalita Madhava, in which Krishna is compared to the greatest sculptor, because he is expert in chiseling at the chastity of women. In other words, although chaste women may follow the rules and regulations of Vedic principles to become ever faithful to their husbands, Krishna is able to break their stone-like chastity with the chisel of his beauty. Most of the girlfriends of Krishna were married, but because Krishna was their friend before their marriages, they could not forget his attractive features, which were always fascinating to them, even after their marriages. So that is why I gave the introduction about the relationship of Krishna with his consorts, with the gopis, with Lakshmi Devi. It's not a mundane material relationship. It is a spiritual relationship. But nevertheless, it is said that he's so attractive that even married ladies who are actually very chaste, they cannot maintain their chastity in this material world to their material husbands, because they are because Krishna is so attractive. There is ever freshness. So now coming to our situation, this is the relationship of Krishna and his eternal associates, the Lakshmi Devis. What about the living entities? So Srila Prabhupada is saying, everything is Krishna's energy. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, in this material world, there is two types of energies. There is Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. Paraprakriti means the living entity, the superior energy. Aparaprakriti means the inferior material energy. Material things, material body, and the spirit soul. The combination of this is seen in this material world. So all energies are feminine, whereas Krishna is the Purusha. He is the enjoyer, he is the male, he is the supreme male. So therefore, all energies are meant to be enjoyed by him. So just comparing Krishna's relationship with the queens, there is that relationship of the enjoyer and the enjoyed between the Lord and his queens. So this is not restricted only to the queens of Krishna. All his energies are meant for his enjoyment. And all the energies, especially us, the living entities, we can get full satisfaction, complete satisfaction, when we are employed in his service, when he enjoys us, that is the perfection of our happiness. That's the highest happiness we can get. Not only highest, but it is permanent happiness. It's not like it's going to be taken away. Like you get success in this world and then it's taken away from you. That won't be taken away. So Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of government employment. Yes, when you're employed by a private company, they can actually fire you at any time. There can be layoffs. But when you take up a government job, it is a stable job. So many people, or all people, they aspire to be employed by the government because that's a stable job. You don't have to worry. The government is most powerful. So Srila Prabhupada is saying the supreme government, Krishna is the supreme government. So anyone who's employed by Krishna, his life is like a very, it's a secure life. You don't have to worry about anything. That means you're completely satisfied. Your highest aspiration is fulfilled if you're employed by Krishna. What does it mean being employed by Krishna? Rendering devotional service to the Lord, being engaged in his devotional service. So that is the highest perfection. So one need not seek the moving goddess of fortune without the relation of the Lord. So anyone who's seeking after the wealth and success in this world, he won't become happy. But you can worship Lakshmi Narayan together. So even if you get wealth in this world, you get success, whatever you get, when all that is employed in the service of the Lord, that is the perfection. Because she will stay with the Lord constantly. She won't leave him. Right? So you engage it in the service of the Lord. That is actually the perfection. And you're doing the right thing because it belongs to the Lord anyway. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. Right? Krishna says he is the supreme, he is the proprietor of all planets and all the demigods. And he is the supreme enjoyer. So therefore, everything must be employed for his enjoyment. So Lakshmi Devi should be engaged in his service. So anyone who does this, he will become extremely happy. When he's engaged in the service of the Lord, he becomes extremely happy. So although Lord Sri Krishna was constantly by their sides as well as exclusively alone, his feet appeared to them to be newer and newer. The goddess of fortune, although by nature always restless and moving, could not quit the Lord's feet. So what woman can be detached from those feet, having once taken shelter of them? Means if Lakshmi Devi cannot give up, Lakshmi Devi who's so, who won't stay in one place, if she becomes completely attached, and by the way, everyone in this world is seeking after Lakshmi Devi. So if she is there, then how can anyone leave those lotus feet and go anywhere else? If Lakshmi Devi is not able to give up, who else can give up the lotus feet of the Lord? You won't be able to give up. So then one question arises here. If the Lord is so fresh and he's so, there's newer and newer tastes, why is it that we leave? Why is it that we are not able to find that attachment in Krishna consciousness? Do you want to give some ideas? Why is it that we are not experiencing that? This is actually the end of the class, so I'm ending the class with a question and we can just start a discussion. Why is it that we are not experiencing the same thing like the queens? We are like, not for a moment we are able to give up the lotus feet of Krishna. Why is it like that? What is the reason?
I was going to ask that question myself, but please, anybody who has, who wants to answer Mataji's question, please just unmute yourself and go ahead. Yes, Kalpesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
I felt that our intellect is not convinced that like when we see the material things,
Mm.
we are not fully convinced that real happiness is in the lotus feet of Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, we are not fully convinced. Actually, that's the perfect answer. Shraddha. We don't have full Shraddha. Why? Because we still think this thing also can make me happy, that also can make me happy. Theoretically, I may understand it, but we don't have the realization yet. We don't have that faith yet. That we still want to enjoy separate from rendering devotional service to Krishna. We are not purified completely yet. Our faith is not strong yet, like that. So if there's any other question, thank you, Sonia Mataji. Hare Krishna.
More
Hare
than
Krishna,
Chanchal
Mataji.
Lakshmi, we are Chanchal.
Prabhuji, Kaivalya Prabhu.
Due to our conditioning, we are enjoying this material world and we got so much used to it, so we don't want to live that, even we become devotee, but still our attraction towards the better is very strong also. And we have this conditioning for millions and millions of years, actually, for how many births we are enjoying. So it's very hard to give up. And that's why we are not so much attracted to Krishna's lotus feet. And that's why we cannot really engage so much in the bhakti, even we try, but still our mind is on different things also.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Since time immemorial, we've been in this conditioned state. But our original constitutional position is to be devotees of Krishna. That means we are not following the process properly, the way we are supposed to follow it. If we do that, actually bhakti is more powerful. However strong the conditioning may be, bhakti is so powerful it can just kick it away. But we are not following the process seriously. Yeah. So that desire, as you said, because of this conditioning, we have attachment for other things, but we are not able to sincerely desire for Krishna consciousness. We are most of the time doing it mechanically. So Prabhupada says in the purport, somewhere I read it, that simply mechanically chanting Hare Krishna will not give you entrance into the spiritual world. It won't give you entrance into the spiritual world. You can get darshan of the Lord when the Lord reveals himself. And the Lord will reveal himself when he sees our sincere endeavor. So that prayer has to be there when we are chanting. Also, that humility, prayerfully chanting and calling out to Krishna, that will actually quicken the process. But when I'm saying all this, I'm talking about myself. Please forgive me, I'm not pointing at anyone. But that chanting, calling out to Krishna when we are chanting, that is not happening. That is not happening. When we sincerely pray and feel dependent on the mercy of the Lord, and with great gratitude when we are chanting, taking the names of the Lord, then our original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, will start awakening. Otherwise, it's happening very, very, very slowly. Like that. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions?
Mataji, like you said, when we are calling Krishna, like a child cries, all the time cries, we don't care. Sometimes, mother knows that when really hungry, he cries. With small baby, we realize that, that's what we need to get.
Yeah.
But another one is unfortunately we are born in Kali Yuga.
Yeah.
So that is adding to all these things.
Yeah.
And one more thing is this, I don't know whether you heard this one or not. Sri Vallabhacharya wrote a song about Adharam Mathuram.
Uh-huh.
So everything is, whatever you say, his Adaram is Madaram, Vadanam is Madaram, Nayanam is Madaram, everything is Madaram. And the way he dances is Madaram, the way he lives, gopis are Madaram. Everything is sweet, 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 sweet. So when you just sing that song, that's something, you cannot say, you cannot away from Krishna. His lotus feet, his clothes, his flute, everything is.
Yeah.
So that's really, that enjoyment is something. And that's what I just thought of telling, like baby cries for hunger and for mother, the way we have to cry for Krishna, otherwise he won't.
Yeah.
When we are running here and there with, yes, of course, Lakshmi, we need it. But even Lakshmi is not staying in one place.
Right.
So how can we run after her? When we get her, then Narayana will always be with us. Krishna will always be with us.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what-
If we serve Lord Narayana, then Lakshmi Devi will be there. Yeah.
They both are together.
They are together. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
That point about Sumanda Mateo is, we are so, that Manda Buddhi is so strong.
Yeah.
Fighting it is, but also, sometimes the Shraddha is not a physical quantity that could be poured in a cup and we can drink it. It is a choice we have to make. Like they say, death is all around us. We see people dying, but we think it will never happen to us.
Yeah.
So you have to make those choices. That is not something that could be handed to you physically. Patience, tolerance, humility. These are not things that could be handed to you. An opportunity comes along when you can exercise humility, exercise patience, exercise tolerance. And at that time, that is what we need to do. And so this morning's, I was just listening to my Bhakti Shastri class, and that is what he was explaining. And he was talking about Shiva getting up and leaving. Mataji had asked the question, what is the difference between self-respect and humility and all that? And he said, and then she was quoting this, Shiva getting up and leaving. And he said, when did he leave? He left, he exercised so much tolerance and patience and humility and compassion. He wanted that, with respect for the yajna that was going on, he did not want to cause trouble. And so my point is, when an opportunity comes along, and so that's how Krishna is going to do it. He's going to give us an opportunity where we can be tolerant, or we can be humble, or we can be compassionate. And at that time, we have to make those choices. Still, again, what you were saying, it's difficult. But that is what makes it worthwhile. And
yeah, we have to exercise our free will.
yes,
and really, that's what I'm also seeing, actually. That step, we have to take that first step. Otherwise, what is the difference between a devotee and, because Krishna is providing everything to everyone else. But we have to take that first step, you see. So, and then you see the reciprocation coming. And we kind of get into this mechanical mode of doing everything, oh, I have to do this, it's done. Because, we have become so impersonal. That's what I'm seeing. Because we're dealing with machines all the time, we have become so impersonal. Even in devotional service, we are doing it in an impersonal way. So therefore, we are not seeing that the way it should go. We see about the Goswamis, right? When they came to Vrindavan, I mean, how rapidly they're, of course, they're all Nitya Siddha devotees, but they have come here to set an example for us. So it is possible to make advancement rapidly, but why decades and decades are passing by and seems like no, improvement is happening. Why? So I was just thinking this morning, because the conscious performance of devotional service is not happening. When we are chanting, when we are worshipping the deities, it's just being done on a mechanical way, like you go to work and you do your work and come home. So I do my morning worship and evening worship, I chant my rounds and it's over. So we have to change that. Then we can also experience like the queens, there's ever fresh taste every day in Krishna consciousness. You look forward to getting up in the morning and attending Mangalarti, chanting your 16 rounds, associating with devotees. Yeah, it is there. We have to access it, making that, that step of exercising our free will, as you said. Thank you, Mataji.
With family and children, it is little tough. But you cannot.
Well, they were families with children, the queens. They had their sons and daughters, and they were still completely absorbed.
Dronacharya Prabhu has his hand up.
Prabhuji, sorry, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for a wonderful class and encouraging this nice conversation. I was going to say how the desire to still be in control, and still be the master of a situation, runs really, really deep in our conditioned nature, and that's why so many of us, we struggle even in Krishna consciousness, because of course we enjoy the beneficial parts that we see beneficial, the parts that give us joy and happiness. We have prasadam, we have nice association, beautiful kirtan, we hear nice pastimes of the Lord. But then when it comes to the surrender part of it, we resist because we have to give up our control. And so it runs so deep. This idea that we're the servants and not the masters, and to give that up is a very, very difficult thing.
Yeah, thank you. That was actually for this verse. There was one class, I forget who's the speaker, but the title of that, I think Burijan Prabhu, the title of the class for this verse was, we are to be enjoyed. We are not the enjoyers. We are not enjoying bhakti. We are enjoyed by the Lord in bhakti. So that is the mood, that I am being enjoyed. But as you said, we still carry that mood, because as conditioned souls, we have come here to be enjoyers, isn't it? So we carry that even in our devotional service, looking for enjoyment. Anything that makes me happy, I want that. I'm interested in that. But other things which may not give me enjoyment, then I don't want to surrender. And that is what is holding us back. Thank you. So many nice points. I should, write them down and remember, when I chant Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dronacharya.
I have one question.
Yeah.
I want to ask if that's okay.
Yes.
What is the relationship between the results of our karma, if it's good karma, and Lakshmi's favor? Is there our good karma considered to be the favor of Lakshmi?
Yeah, because where is it coming from? The results are there, but let's say I did some good karma, and the result of that is I will be opulent. But where is that opulence coming from? That house, that money, where is it coming from? Yes, it's being awarded to me according to my karma. So the free will is there. But if you remember in Bhagavad Gita, we are not the only doers. So karma is one aspect, but you also need the sanction. So when you do good karma, you access the favor of Goddess Lakshmi. Yeah, in the material sense, yes. So if you do good karma, you're accessing the favor of Goddess Lakshmi, because there is also Goddess Lakshmi in the material world. So you'll access her favor. But is that really her favor? Well, her real favor in the spiritual world, that is her real favor. Because here, this won't last with us. It will go away. It's like you spend it, you get a karmic result, and you spend it and it's over. So what is the meaning of that favor? I enjoyed it, I ate it, and it's finished. And now again, once again, I'm, in a wretched condition. So how did I actually receive the favor of Goddess Lakshmi? But nevertheless, that wealth, she's the reservoir of that wealth. It's coming from her only. So like that. But when you please Goddess Lakshmi, people worship Goddess Lakshmi, and you get, that is also there, but that worship is also actually counted as karma. You have in the Vedas, you have Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. Upasana Kanda means you're worshipping the demigods, you're worshipping in order to get some material results. So that is not counted as bhakti. It's not counted as bhakti. So the results that you're getting there is also, it's not really a spiritual result, it is material result. So as I said, there's Lakshmi Devi in this world also. In fact, sometimes the Lakshmi Devi in this world is counted as a demigoddess. She's counted as a demigoddess. Lakshmi Devi is the consort of Lord Narayan, and she is considered as, the Lord's internal energy. Like that. So is it the goddess of Lakshmi's, goddess of fortune's favor? Everything in this world is, if you want to go into details, then there are three energies of the goddess of fortune, in the external energy and internal energy. There is a Sri, Neela, and Bhu Shakti. This is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So one aspect is meant for the creation, another aspect is meant for the maintenance, and another aspect is meant for annihilation. They're all energies, branches of the goddess of fortune in this material world. So Durga Devi is for annihilation, then Sri, Lakshmi Devi is for maintenance in this world, and then you have Bhu Shakti, she is for creation. So whatever you get maintenance, whatever you're receiving, it's maintenance, it's coming from Lakshmi Devi. But still those results are material. That has to be understood. I hope it makes sense, Dronacharya Prabhu. Just.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. That helps clarify it. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So, Shobha Radhe Mataji, can we end the class here? If there's any announcement?
No, tomorrow morning we meet for Bhagavatam class again at 7:50, and also that tomorrow is Ekadasi. And then tomorrow evening's Sunday feast program. So again, please try to be there at 4:30 for the first Aarti. I think that's it.
Real quick, Mother Shobha Radhe, tomorrow, the Sunday feast class, we have a guest speaker, His Grace Kritu Prabhu, is coming. So he's a senior Srila Prabhupada disciple. He's also initiating guru in ISKCON. So please come and get his association. And then also today we have our Gundicha Marjana festival. It's going to the cleaning of the temple. Lord Jagannath is now being taken care of, and we'll see him next. Week at Gitanagari Rath Yatra. But this is every year we do this in between Snani Yatra and Rath Yatra. We do this Gundicha Marjana festival. So if you want to come by, participating in cleaning the temple for Lord Jagannath, Lord Jagannath's pleasure, in the mood of Lord Chaitanya, as Lord Chaitanya did. Please come by. Start at 9:30 today. So just in a few minutes, and we'll go till about lunchtime. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Nice.
Hare Krishna.